Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Hilltop Pillbox in Abbotsford, British Columbia, Canada. And today we're going to be taking a look at a specific and very, very important part of historical board gaming's sweeping saga epic of a game, Global War 1936. And we will be focusing today on the diminutive and yet all-important infantry. So today's video is going to tell you all about the different options and variety of things that you can incorporate into your game with infantry. I'll be telling you about some of our little house rules. I'll be telling you about some of the pieces that you can bring in from other things that HBG sells that aren't specifically in 1936, but they're easily workable. So you just enhance and enrich your game experience. But this video is going to be all things infantry, so we won't be talking about armor, aircraft, or ships, or anything like that. Hey, there we go. So here you got your basic infantry. I've used, obviously, a German infantry for this. They attack at a 2, defend at a 4, move at a 1, and they cost $3. And that's the same for all the different nations. But realize that there are moments when certain countries, for instance Russia, when the Soviet Union gets attacked, they're able to buy them for cheaper. And what you really want to do, me and my buddies, we've fallen into this trap where you just think, oh, it's what's you, same for you is same for me. But really check out your national sheets and make sure you get to know them really well before you even start the game. As you saw in my last gameplay video of 36, we botched a pretty important rule because we had all switched what countries we were going to play 30 seconds before the game began. And that's it's not a great way to play a game that has so many important points to it and so many critical rules that you need to be familiar with for your specific country. You know, all the rules that are in the game, you play a few games of it and they become second nature. It's when you switch countries that you realize that there's a real richness to the game. Because as we know in the war, guys just, different countries reacted so differently to different things and we're able to cope with certain things better than other countries. So let's just keep that in mind as we're going forward here, that you know what, really, really get to know the country that you're going to play. And that'll just make your game experience and for you and your buddies just that much better. So as I've said, this here is your basic infantry and anybody can purchase it. You just purchase it obviously in the right color. Bye-bye. All right, the next one that is used quite a bit in 36 is the militia. So there is the little rondel for it, and then you just put buddy on there. If you don't have any of these, although I highly recommend them, you can just throw a regular infantry on there, and the yellow really stands out on the board. Really, you instantly know there's a militia there. And if you end up, you're running out of room and you've got a bunch of militia you need to stack up. So let's say you've got 5 militia. Well, you just take a stack of 4 chips and like that, and just like the regular, when you stack up for regular infantry or tanks or anything like that, the one on top plus the chips. So that would be a stack of 5 militia if you're running out of room. Okay, there's militia. And the next guys we're going to talk about are the mountain troops. So here I've got the Japanese mountain troops. Okay, so again, it's just a regular infantry sitting on top of that. Now, there are some sculpts on HBG you can get for different things. I have a few of them here. I don't have the mountain guys, but you can just put that on top of the roundel and it denotes a mountain guy. So mountain guys, they have an attack of 2, just like regular infantry. They defend at a 4, just like regular infantry. They move 1, just like regular infantry. And they cost $4. Now, their bonus is that they do have a +1 to their defense when they're in a mountain territory, or if someone is crossing a mountain border into their territory, they get that +1 on the first round of combat. But they also have no attack penalty in mountains. So if they cross a mountain border or they're heading into a mountain, there's no mountain penalty. All right. So that's the mountain guys. Something I want to go back to quickly before I forget because, hey, I want to make sure I get all this stuff. With the militia, they can't move. They have an attack of 1, a defense of 2. They can't move and they cost $2. So they're nice and cheap. But the problem with militia, well, the biggest problem with militia is that they can't move. They have no movement. You're saying, well, Kurt, why would they have an attack if you can't move? And that's a very good question. And very simply, some of them can move. Like the Italian black shirts, and then the German Volkssturm, and then the Russian militia can also move and have an attack. But it's only an attack of 1, so you know, you got a 8.5% chance of getting a hit, which is not very good. But they can be built at non-factory sites. You don't need to have a factory. Thought I'd put that out there before somebody types it in the notes below. So that's mountain and militia, basic infantry. Now we're moving on to the Marines. And for the Marines is kind of a catch-all phrase. All right, we're going to put in a few different types of Marines here just so you can see them. All right, and this is just a fun sculpt that we use. Okay. All right, so there's some Marines. Now these two on the end here, these Japanese guys, they're the Special Naval Landing Force. Okay, so again, you got the little tokens here, and they're just gorgeous. So they're the big fat ones there from Historical Board Gaming. Highly recommend picking these up. And this is a sculpt that we use for our landing force. You can just see it's a bit of a different color than the brighter orangish pumpkin color that we use for the normal Japanese infantry, just so they stand out a little bit, even though we do put them on the roundel. All right. This guy here really stands out, as a Marine. So you can obviously do that as well. These are great little sculpts too, from Historical Board Gaming, as the symbol says. But I love these guys; they're great. You know, what is that? Type 97 machine gun or something? That'll ruin your day. Okay. So those guys go over there. So as for Japan, now America's got a little bit of an interesting thing here. They've got Marines, and Marines, you can just use these Marine tokens. Get out of there, Japan. All right, so you can use these Marine tokens and just put a regular American infantry on there, and that's a Marine. Now, Marines, Japanese, American, anybody who can buy Marines, again, check your nation card to see if you can buy them. They attack at 2, defend at 4, just like regular infantry, move 1, just like regular infantry, but they cost $4. You're saying, Kurt, why are they costing $4? Well, I'll tell you why. It's because when you do an amphibious assault and the other guy gets a hit on you, typically that kills 2 infantry. But Marines do not take those double casualties, which is really nice. So no double casualties for the Marines. Okay, and they have all the same stats. Okay. Except for they cost $1 more. They cost $4. But if you're loading up for a big amphibious assault, I highly recommend getting these guys because 2 lucky shots kills 4 of your infantry. That's 2 boats worth of infantry. So just be aware of that. Okay, but then you're saying, well, okay, what's with this guy? Well, we got a bright green Marine here, and he's an elite Marine. Okay, now his attack is a 3 instead of a 2. He defends at a 5 instead of a 4. He still only moves 1, and he does get the, the no double casualties upgrade, which is nice. But you can only build 2 per turn. Okay, so his attack and defense are 1 higher than Buddy here. Okay, so he's +1 on attack and defense, and than this guy. But he also costs $2 more. Okay, so that's a Marine here. And an elite Marine. Again, you might have different tokens, different sculpts, anyway to denote it, but those are just the options for the Americans for their amphibious assaults. All right, and there we go. And all the stuff that I'm telling you here, these things are all available for purchase during the game. Okay. Now we have airborne, and I've got 3 or 4 airborne sculpts. I'm going to show you 3 of them here. Okay. I've got to move them over here. There we go. All right, so here, of course, you got the American Airborne. It's just got the nice little token there. We got the British Airborne. We got their nice little token. And then we got the Fallschirmjäger, okay? German airborne troops. Of course, they're great. They attack at a 2. They only defend at a 2, right? So once they're in territory, they're really not great. You want to, I don't know, if you're going to be dropping them in, you want to make sure there's a lot of support, or they're just kind of a one-hit wonder. They're going to hop in there and have some fun. They do only cost $3, so it's the same as the infantry, but you got to buy these guys if you want to do paratroopers, okay? If you want to drop guys in behind enemy lines, if you want to do something like that, you've got to buy these guys. So they cost the same as infantry, but they don't defend as well. But these are the guys that can be taken by a strat bomber or an air transport. Regular infantry cannot be taken by them. Okay? I'll say that again. You cannot put regular infantry into the strat bombers or the air transports. You need to use these guys. So they cost the same, which is really nice, but they defend very poorly, just at a 2. Okay? So bridge too far right there. All right. There we go. So that's the airborne. I'm going to talk about some specific, good grief, specific infantry upgrades for some people. We'll start with the Germans. So the Germans here have their Panzer Grenadiers, okay, and there's a bunch of different sculpts HBG has, or not sculpts, pardon me, roundels that they have that you can use for your German Panzer Grenadiers. I'm just keeping it basic here, but you can get some that are actually, they have their battalion numbers and whatnot on them. So it's kind of cool, but I'm just using the basic one today. They're pretty good. These guys are pretty good. They attack at a 4, which is 100% increase on most infantry. They defend at a 5, which is a 25% increase. Sorry for all the math. They can also move 2. So this is very, very, very important. They can move 2. So when you see guys like this sitting on your board, typically you look around as the defender and you say, oh, okay, well, they're 2 away from something, so they're not going to bother me. Just make sure you notice that it says Panzer Grenadier, because the Panzer Grenadiers hop in their trucks and take off, okay? So they're, I won't say motorized infantry, because that's a different group, that's a different unit. Okay, but they just are showing that this group of infantry have the wheels to get moving pretty quickly. Okay, so again, they attack at a 4, defend at a 5, they can move 2, and they cost $4. Now, the good thing for the Allies, because you might be sitting there thinking, holy cow, that's not fair. The good thing for the Allies, there's 2 good things. One, Germany can only build 2 of them per round, so they're not going to build 10 of these things and come marching on you. Okay, they can build 2 around. Plus, they're not available until January of 1943. Okay, so keep that in mind. You're going to be a few rounds into the game before these bad boys show up. But again, make sure you as the defender, typically Russia, you keep your eyes on these guys, because they can really ruin your day if you're not watching. All right, off we go. There's other things here that are... Oh, you know what? I'm not going to do those yet. I'll do them later. Okay. Next guys we got are the black shirts in Italy. I don't have a sculpt for this or the specific tokens. We got the fascist token here, and you just put a regular Italian infantry on there. And these guys here, these black shirts, they are the Italian militia. Okay, so they attack at 2, pretty lousy. Defend at 2, pretty lousy. Okay, they move at 1, but they only cost $2, which is kind of neat. But they're a militia, and these are one of the militia that can actually move in their own country, so they can move 1 and attack. Okay, but they only attack at a 2, so they don't really have teeth, right? But at least it's something the Italians can place and answer to things, because you only have the 1 factory unless you build another factory in Italy. You've only got the 1, and since you can build these guys anywhere, just make sure that you can kind of cover the whole area of Italy there, because there's a, you know, up in Turin is where your factory is, and you want to make sure that you can keep it safe. And again, if it gets taken, you haven't lost your capital, so you can still build militia. So just be ready for that. Again, you can only build 2 per turn of those guys. Okay. Oh, one little thing I forgot to mention with these guys, with the Japanese Special Naval Landing Force. Oops, sorry for the seasickness there. For these guys here, you can only build 2 per turn. I'm not sure if I mentioned that. Okay, you only build 2 per turn. Go away. All right. Now we have a very interesting one. I like this one. This is a great one. I highly recommend grabbing these tokens. They look really sweet. Look at those things. All right. So these are the Soviet Guards, and Soviet Guards are not purchased. What you do is you have a battle as Russia, which they want to do, and at the end of it, if you've won the battle, you see how many land units got destroyed. Okay, so you check out how many land units got destroyed, and if you see that you got 3 land units destroyed, but if you still have some infantry left, you can take up to 3 and you roll a die, which is really great. You just roll a die, and if you roll a 12, they change into these guards units. So you would take one of these tokens, put it down, and slap an infantry on top. Okay, and you can do this to any class of infantry, which is really cool. So, you know, for instance, if you had a mountain infantry and it became a guards, you can just do that. Boom. So not only do you get the bonus with the mountain, now you get the bonus of the guards. Sorry for knocking the camera here, guys. And the guards are really great because they give you a +1 to attack and +1 to defense, which is really sweet. Now again, you can't build these guys, and as we know, the Russians tend to have a lot of infantry laying around, so just, that's a good thing to have. All right, so guards units for the Russians. Love those guys. They're a lot of fun. All right, so we've already done all those. Okay. All right, so I guess the last thing I'm going to talk about are the colonial infantry. Okay, and we're going to use the French for this, but there are Britain and France and FEC can do colonial infantry, but there's some little difference we got to talk about. So for France and Britain, you can build these things in any territory because they're colonial. You don't need a factory, and you can build them anywhere that you have your roundel showing. Okay, on the map. So the French can build guys in Africa and cause all sorts of problems, and yeah, it's really great. The problem is that they attack at 2, defend at 4, move 1, just like regular infantry, but they cost $4. Okay, and you can build 1 per turn in any colony. Okay, so you have the opportunity to build them anywhere you want, but you're going to have some trouble trying to get them all together by the end of it all, right? Because they're all kind of separated and not hanging around with each other. All right. Yeah. So the British can build them anywhere where they don't have a factory, anything like that. But the thing with the British and FEC is that the territory that you build these guys in, actually they all do. Pardon me, they all do. The French, the British, and the FEC. I guess I missed that the first time I read through, a long time ago. They all need to have a point value. Okay, so you do have some places like southern Algeria or that don't have an actual value to them. You can't crank out a guy there. They got to have a value. So like Tunisia, Algeria, places like that, like the northern Algeria, Morocco, they all are worth a point, but that's it. So, and for FEC, you can crank them out in Bombay and New Delhi and Madras and places like that, but you couldn't build one, say, out on the Maldive Islands or on Ceylon or up in Punjab or the Kashmir or something like that. So it's got to have a point value for all the colonial troops. All right, and yeah, that's good for the colonial troops. Here we go. All right, so That's about it for the 1936 specific units. If I did miss any, leave me a little comment, but I think I got all the specific ones. The guys that walk around on 2 feet. So I didn't go over the cavalry and I didn't go over any of the mechanized stuff. But I'm just going to talk about some of the optional infantry that you can use, and you can get all these roundels from the historical board gaming. Okay, so here we have. Just get a better angle on that one. The Hitlerjugend, so the Hitler Youth. Okay, and the Hitler Youth are only built in Germany, like in original German territories. Okay, so you can't build them in Paris or something like that. You can only build them in the original German territory. Oh, and by the way, these are our rules. There are other rules. There are rules options on Historical Board Gaming's website. When you look at the rules compendium, just find the links, and they heartily encourage people to come up with their own house rules and develop things for all these tokens. Because, folks, they are giving us hundreds. I don't even think that's hyperbole, but hundreds of different tokens for facilities, for units, for different things people can do. And definitely check them out. And go ahead and buy a pack of 5, right? It's like $3 or something, $3 or $4. Go ahead and buy a pack of 5 of a variety of different ones. And if you like them, then you go whole hog, okay? So like the Hitler Youth here, when you build these, they have a movement of 1, okay? And on the very first round of the attack, they attack at a 4, and they defend at a 4, like normal infantry, but they can never retreat. So the Hitler Youth are fanatical, and they attack, whether it's hopeless or not. They just go, 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 go. So they move 1, attack at a 4 on the first round, and then they're back down to a 2 for the rest of it. Okay, so they become regular infantry after the first round of combat. But if you get a stack of these guys up there and get them going, they're pretty crazy. You can build 2 per turn, and you can build any amount throughout the game. Okay, you can start building them. We said in our thing, because the Hitler Youth was around in the well, actually, I believe there's a youth thing around in the 20s in Germany, but we say you can start building them right off the hop. Okay, so right off the hop, you can start building Hitler Youth guys, and they're really good shock troops, but only 2 per turn, and only in Germany. Okay, so that's the Hitler Youth, and again, just put a regular infantry on them. It just shows you they're regular. All right. Afrika Korps, love these guys. Okay, so the Afrika Korps, again, they're built in Germany, and then they move down to Italy and hop on a boat and go across to Africa. When they get to Africa, they are a +1 attack and +1 defense. Okay, so they're regular infantry. Okay, so you can build them in Germany. You build them with this thing. You put that on there. You drop them on there, and then you start moving them south and get them onto a boat and head down to Africa, where they're +1 attack, +1 defense, and these guys here cost $4. Okay, the rest of their stuff is the same. So they move 1, but they attack at a 3, defend at a 5. Okay, Afrika Korps, you can build 2 per turn. 2 per turn. Okay, with the Japanese. So if you've got your Japanese infantry, regular Japanese infantry, these bonsai markers are fabulous. They're in the 1939 game for HBG, but we say, go ahead and use them in this if you want. We only allow, I believe it's 3 per turn, but only 1 per territory. So you can't load up with 3, but 1 per territory. Basically, that gives these guys a +1 on their attack, so they become a 3, but they're similar to the Hitler Youth in that they cannot retreat. Okay, so they're in there for the long haul, and it's not an infantry that you then put up here. You just denote that Buddy here is going to be bonsaiing, so you know that he's either going to win or die. Okay, so that's the bonsai, and again, 3 per turn, 1 per territory. In 1939, there's a different amount of those, but in 36, just the way it's set up, we figured that was enough. All right, and there we go. In Russia, when the Germans come through and take a territory and then leave it vacant, these bad boys can pop up. This you can use in any iteration of these games. You can even bring them on over to Global 40 if you want, or 42. The Germans must leave units behind in the Russian territories or partisans pop up. Now partisans are free, they just pop up, you put the token down. There's also square ones like the bonsai marker, but I like the big ones here. And what they do is they just sit there. And if they're attacked, they just defend at a 2, they attack at a 1, but they can't really go anywhere, they just sit there. But if this isn't taken care of by the Germans on one round, then it is replaced the next round by infantry, who then take over the territory. So the Germans would lose the production from that territory, and they'd lose their supply line. So they could cut the railway and various other things. Okay, so that's a neat thing. So watch out for those partisans to the Germans. Typically, if you deal with them, they never become a big problem, but sometimes you're pushing so hard to take Moscow or Stalingrad or something that you just say, screw it, I don't care if an infantry pops up. And it's not the worst thing in the world, but one infantry in the back can, just be annoying. And it does slow you down a little bit. So watch out for those partisans. Couple other things here, and I've shown these on a previous video. Is the medics. Now, I don't have any medic sculpts. Historical board gaming. Hey, Doug, Will. Hey, you guys want to make some sculpts for medics? I think that would be awesome. Guy kind of kneeling down, over a medikit or over a body or something. I don't know. I think that would look pretty cool. But for right now, we do have these Nito tokens. This is for everybody, and this is obviously for the German army, the Kampfmedik. The combat medics are great if they go in with an attack, and they also stay in a territory on defense. They have no attack or defense value, of course. They cost $5, but you can try to, for every combat medic you have, you can try to save an infantry-class unit. So whether it's a Marine or Africa Corps or a Guards unit or Mountain or Militia or whatever, you can try to save it. And we say there's, we've debated a bit. We haven't played with these in 36 an awful lot, but in 39, they automatically save one, and then we roll a die, and if you roll a 6, you save another one. Okay, so they can do quite well. They cost $5. And if the territory, they can't be taken as casualties. So if you're down to your last tank and a medic, and the tank is destroyed, then the medic is taken away. It's kind of like transports and whatnot. Okay, so no, they have no impact on the battle proper. Okay, so these things are fun. Again, you can pick these up at HBG. Just fabulous little tokens, and they just add again to the richness of the game. Really like that. Okay, so that's all the little figurines. I'm just going to go over a couple of more. The PAL camp, again, totally up to you if you want to use them, and totally up to you how you want to use them. We don't like them being game changers. We like them being game enhancers. So with our PAL camps, they cost $10, and they add $1 to the territory, to the value of the territory, and you don't need to have a dollar value in the territory to begin with. You can just plant them anywhere. So the Russians could build like 50 of these things. Unfortunately, at $10 a pop, that's they got to survive for 10 rounds to pay themselves off. But sitting in your homeland or deep in the Asian steppes or whatever, they'd probably survive. The neat thing too, there's one rule that we really stick with, which is if we take over the POW camp, you roll a D6, and it's you make it a D3 by cutting your roll in half and rounding up. and you get that many infantry. So you've rescued that many able-bodied soldiers back to your units. So, for instance, if the Germans go take over a Russian POW camp, they'd roll a die, and if they got a 4, they'd get 2 infantry immediately right there. So POW camps, as great as they are for cranking out money, can cause you grief later in the game. So be careful about building them and where you put them. But hey, a lot of fun. So $10. Obviously no attack or defense value. But at the end, roll a D3, get that many infantry back. You want to roll high on this one. Okay? That's the POW camp. Hospitals. Hospitals are static facilities. They don't move either, just like a POW camp. And the hospitals cost 12, I believe. Sorry, I forgot to write that down. But I think we charge 12 for them now. I think we used to charge 15, but nobody would buy them. So we buy them for 12. And every territory that touches the territory that they're in, including the territory that they're in, they act like a combat medic. All right, so they can try to save, they will automatically save 1 infantry, which will retreat to this territory. And then they will also do a die roll, and if they get a 6, they will save another infantry. Now, there has to be infantry in the battle. So if you just have 5 tanks sitting there and the guy wipes you out, you can't utilize the combat medic or the hospital, because it's just for infantry class units. Now you're saying, well, what happens if I attack the place that has infantry and a hospital? Well, when you kill the last guy, that's when you would roll, but at that point the facilities are taken over. We say that hospitals will stay there. POW camps are destroyed. All right, so hospitals will stay there. So if you build one, you might be giving your enemy a helping hand. Okay. Minefield. Dun, 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 dun. Only good against infantry class units. And simply put, when you go into a territory that has a minefield, you roll a D3. So again, a D6, and round it up, pardon me. So if you roll a 3, it's actually a 4. And you lose that many infantry. Okay, they're dead. Dead. Okay, minefields cost $5. Okay, we thought that was a really nice number, because if you kill 2 infantry, it's a good trade. If you only kill 1, well, you're down $2. So we thought that was a pretty good number for it. If you kill 3 infantry, well, hey, that's gravy. Minefields cannot move. Once you have built them, you can build them anywhere. In some iterations of these games, people say you got to build them at a factory and ship them out. And we have done that in the past, but now we say, you know what, the engineers would just drive out a truck full of mines and plant them. So you can plant these wherever you need to. $5 a pop. All right, barbed wire. Now, barbed wire acts a lot like tank traps, okay, but they're for infantry. And very simply put, when somebody is going into a territory, they roll a D6, and again, it's a D3, so you round up, you cut it in half and round up. So you roll your D6. If you get a 2, that would make 1 infantry kind of get tangled up and can't participate in the battle. Okay, so the infantry then remains in the territory that it came from. Okay, so if you're attacking from, territory A to territory B, and there's a barbed wire, and you roll a 6, then 3 of your infantry cannot go into the attack, and they stay behind. We also say that if you win, then they can use non-combat because they didn't take part in combat. They didn't move. So then they could move in anyway. So it's usually not a big deal. The last thing I'm going to point out today are the fortifications. I love the little fortifications here. They're great. They give you, in defense, of course, because they're not going to be moving, they give you 2 5s on the first round of combat. And they also help out the infantry with a +2 in defense for the battle. All right. So if you have 5 guys in there, it all works really well. Oh, I think I said for the whole battle. For one round, for round 1, okay? So if you have infantry, then all other units get a +2 defense. All other units, okay? Now you cannot bomb them or anything like that, and they can't be taken as a casualty. It's kind of a almost an abstract idea of just having a fortified area that gives a bonus to the initial attack in a zone. So, for instance, if you have 15 units in your territory, you get the 2 5s, and then all 15 units that typically defend at 4 will now be defending at a 6 on the first round only. Okay, so they can really shred that first wave coming in, which is really, really, really nice. Okay, so the rule book on page 58 says you get the 2 rolls for 5. Okay, so 2 5s, and then you add +2 defense to all other units on round 1. Okay, so it's not just guys sitting inside a pillbox, banging away. It's the whole idea that everything is, you've got tank traps, you've got pillboxes, you got anti-aircraft, you've got everything. Okay, so everything, so planes, everything has a +2 defense on that first round of combat only, and then everybody goes back down to regular stuff. Okay. And these are taken away when you, as the attacker, win the battle. Away they go. Okay, that's pretty much it. I guess I should tell you that this doesn't stack. So if you're attacking into a city, and you typically have the +1 for a city bonus on your defense, you can't stack it to get +3. So on the first round, the defenders would defend with a +2, and then every round after that, they'd take the city bonus and get the +1. So hopefully that helps you out there. So that's the end of my video of the diminutive infantry. I hope I got everything here. I wrote up some good notes here, and I was hoping I didn't miss anything this time. Again, check your national sheets and just make sure that you can build these things, because some countries can't build airborne. It's very important that you are a proper builder, so you don't have China building airborne infantry because you got no planes to use them. Anyway, yeah. All right, so hopefully that's all you guys need for the infantry. And hey, enjoy the beautiful weather here, the run up to Christmas. And I'm sure if you got kids at home, or maybe you are watching this and you are a student, you're probably mentally packed already for the time off. But hey, enjoy yourselves. We're going to be playing another round of 36 here in the not too distant future over the Christmas holidays. And we'll get that video up there and let you guys know how it goes. We're hoping to be able to get together for a couple of days and really watch the battle take shape. But for everyone else, hey, thanks for watching. Take care. Just be real good to people around you. We could use that these days. And hey, hug your loved ones. May the dice be with you.